This season may be over for the New York Rangers as they pretty much have no shot at making playoffs, but they have started to win some games and have started to play some much better hockey, which in those games, we have started to see some of the New York Rangers' top young players really start to produce at a great level, which is very promising for this team's future going forward without a player like Artemi Panarin. So in today's video, we're going to talk a bit about how the New York Rangers, of course, are starting to play some better hockey, but we're going to focus more in on Gabe Perreault and Alexis Lafreniere, two young wingers on this Rangers team, two players that are extremely important pieces to this team's future, are starting to play some incredible hockey, so we're going to talk about them, but also we've got a bit of an update to take a look at involving the trade situation and Braden Schneider, as he, of course, was heavily linked at moments to possibly being traded ahead of this deadline. It ultimately did not happen, but it does seem like this summer he still will be likely one of the many pieces that teams are calling about and possibly trading for. So let's just get right into it here, and we're going to start off here by taking a look at how good the Rangers have been as of late since returning from the NHL's Olympic break and getting back both Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin from their injuries that, of course, they did miss time with. The Rangers have 7 games played and have a record of 4-1-2. They are starting to play some much better hockey. They're actually quite fun to watch right now, especially with the young players doing all of their stuff. As, of course, like I said, we have guys like Gabe Perreault and Alexis Lafreniere really starting to produce some great numbers offensively. So that's been a ton of fun to watch, seeing them kind of produce there and create some offense and really just kind of, show the talent that they, of course, do have. And we'll talk about that a little later on. But to me, this is not all that shocking, the fact that the Rangers are starting to win some games, because they were, of course, yes, playing some terrible hockey before the Olympic break, kind of leading up to it, of course, but that was, for the most part, without guys like Igor Shesterkin and Adam Fox, two players you could argue are the two most important, especially Igor, who I think is the clear most important player to this New York Rangers team. So when he was out there, of course, for a pretty long extended period of time there, now you have a older goalie in Jonathan Quick who had to kind of pick up some of the slack there and become more of a kind of starter. That just was not a case for success for this Rangers team. So I think at this point, we are going to likely see them play some better hockey overall than what we saw from the kind of start of the Olympic break there just before that. And honestly, I do have a bit of a worry, though, that the Rangers are going to possibly really hurt their odds at this upcoming draft with the fact that Igor's back, of course, and they are, like I said, playing some much better hockey since what they were doing, of course, before the Olympic break. When guys like Adam Fox and Igor were out, they were playing much worse, but now that they're back, with especially Igor coming back, they're playing some pretty good hockey. They're looking like a much better team, and that definitely is not going to bode well for this team's lottery odds, more than likely, as they have already started to kind of go up the standings a bit there. They were once not terribly long ago in the kind of 31st spot in the NHL, being second last. They've now already started to climb up there, and they're not that far back of the teams that are just kind of above them, around that kind of 5, 6, 7, 8 spot. So there is, I think, a bit of a worry that they are going to really hurt their odds possibly. So it's definitely going to be interesting to kind of watch here, because obviously, yes, I do want to see this team kind of ideally, yeah, sure, win, but at the end of the day, getting a better kind of odds here at possibly being able to select a player like Gavin McKenna or Ivar Stenberg would be quite ideal, I think, for this franchise. Next up here, we've got the update involving Braden Schneider, and this was posted on X by Phil Kocher, and he goes on to say, quote, "I do believe that there is a market for Braden Schneider. I've heard of some teams that poked around on him. San Jose is one, certainly, that I would have my eye on going into the summer," Vince Bercagliano said on the Flying V podcast. They're covering the Rangers, and I think, honestly, a guy like Braden Schneider, I talked about this a lot, he's in a really interesting spot because, yes, and I know a lot of you also comment this down below all the time as well, saying that he's a young, big, physical defenseman, he's good defensively. There definitely is absolutely a reason to keep him around long term, but I think on the other side of things, there's also reason to possibly look to trade him away, with the fact that I think this team has some huge needs on the left side of this defense core after a guy like Gavrikov. I think Robertson's pretty good so far this year, Matthew, but at the end of the day, I don't think going into next season they want to really have him as that number 2 left-handed defenseman. And if that's the case, then trading away a guy like Schneider in a deal where either you're getting back possibly maybe a kind of decent young NHL defense, maybe on the same level as a guy like Schneider, just a lefty, or maybe you're trading him away for a first-round pick, a pretty good prospect, or a decent young NHLer in a different spot, maybe a kind of winger or something like that possibly, and then you're opening up the cap space there, and you're able to kind of use assets to trade for a guy or possibly just sign one in free agency potentially. Now, Obviously, keeping him makes sense there as well, but this team does have, I think, guys like, of course, Adam Fox and Will Borgen, and if they do favor both Adam Fox clearly, but also, yes, Will Borgen over a guy like Schneider, and they see Schneider as more of that kind of third right-handed defenseman going forward, with this team also having guys like Scott Morrow and Vince Naiorio, two young, fairly promising defensemen there, that are also righties, I feel like, honestly, at that point, I would probably rather just trade away Schneider while his value does seem to be still quite high, especially with this summer, there not being a bunch of likely trade candidates available that are, top four right-handed defensemen, especially, in free agency as well. There aren't a lot of great options, especially after a player like Darren Radish. So I think trading away a guy like Schneider this summer could possibly be a great time to do it because of his value probably being quite high, and this team having many defensemen that are right-handed that are NHL ready right now and are looking to compete for jobs. I just feel like this team has an abundance of righties right now, and they obviously have a clear need on the forward side of things, and especially on the left side of this defense core. So trading away a guy like Schneider, to me, definitely makes a lot of sense, and a team like San Jose definitely could come back around possibly and look to trade for him this summer. Next up here, I wanted to talk about Gabe Perreault and Alexis Lafreniere, but we're going to start off with Gabe Perreault, as both of these young wingers are really starting to play some much better hockey than what we saw earlier on this season from them, especially with, of course, a guy like Panarin now out of the lineup there after being sent over to the LA Kings. There was a clear kind of opportunity that was going to be opening up for a lot of these kind of players here with a big, top guy like Panarin going out the door there. There was a need for someone to come in there and start producing, and guys like Gabe Perreault and Lafreniere have really started to do so. So far this month, in the month of March, Gabe Perreault does have 5 games played, 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 total points, and only 2 of those points are on the power play as well. He's been doing a great job, I think, especially as of late. These over a point per game in his last 5 games now. He is only, of course, 20 years old, so being 20 years old this season so far, he's had a total of 31 games played, 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 total points. Obviously did play a bit in the AHL as well, where he was nearly at a point per game, but Gabe is a very talented, highly skilled winger, and I am definitely excited to see what he can do throughout the rest of this season, but also going forward as well. Once his team adds on even more talent there, and Gabe gets even better, even older, even more experienced, I am really excited to see what he can possibly do, as it's quite clear, even as a 20-year-old and even as a 19-year-old last year for a bit, he was showing a decent amount of talent there, especially this year as of late. He's really started to show a whole lot there of kind of what he can possibly do with his skill there, his amazing vision, passing, playmaking ability, hands, deking, of course, just overall kind of offensive talent there. It's through the roof. He has so much skill, so much talent. So I'm really excited to see what he can do going forward, and I'm really happy to see that he has really started to heat up as well as of late. Next up here, we've got Alexis Lafreniere, who now has 42 points, 18 goals, 24 assists in 64 total games played this season with only 8 power play points. But the big thing is, as of late, he has really started to play some much better hockey. Since the beginning of January, he has played 22 games, has 10 goals, 12 assists for 22 total points, so has been a point per game since the beginning of January. And on top of that, in his last 5 games, has 9 points, 5 goals, including a hat trick with 4 assists. He has been on absolute fire as of late. He is playing some incredible hockey, and him and Gabe Perreault have been so much fun to watch. There is a lot of promise still, I think, with a guy like Lafreniere. His contract is not bad at all, and honestly, right now, his contract may not look like the best one in the league, but if he can produce at a 45 to 60 point level continuously, consistently going forward for the next kind of, 5+ years, of course, I don't see why this contract is going to look bad at all. Obviously, yes, ideally he is going to be producing at an even higher level, and I definitely still think there is the possibility that we do see Lafreniere get on track to becoming that maybe 55 to 70 point guy, maybe even upwards of a point per game, possibly, depending on the players he's with, of course, and the team as a whole. But I am just really happy to see Lafreniere start to play some much better hockey as of late, and is really starting to produce at a phenomenal level. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post a video about the New York Rangers every single day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on the New York Rangers possibly trading away Braden Schneider this upcoming offseason? What are your thoughts on the New York Rangers being 4-1-2 in their last 7 games since returning from the Olympic break with Fox and Shesterkin back in the lineup? And also, what are your thoughts on how Gabe Perreault and Alexis Lafreniere have been playing as of late? What do you think their potentials are? And what do you think they're going to be able to produce throughout the rest of this season? A point per game level there just below that. Let me know your thoughts. I'll catch you next one, and bye.